Well, Paul McIntyre, MI3, Professor Karen Nelson-Field, attention extraordinaire, just out of a conversation or a presentation, a chat actually, with 20, 30 CMOs with the AANA on attention. Surprise, surprise, Karen, as you may know, is the leading proponent of what's going on with attention around the world. Karen Nelson-Field, we've got a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Sum it up. Are you ready?
Yes.
Attention versus media reach. It's a big, hot global topic. Everyone's talking about it. Why? Why is it? What's going on?
Firstly, if you think about versus, we need reach with attention, full stop. The reason why it is such a hot topic is because that's rare. So getting reach used to be table stakes, but the reality, there's so much error that sits underneath impressions that being able to do reach-based planning is almost impossible now because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
So when you buy 1,000 eyeballs, you're not necessarily getting 1,000 eyeballs for a whole bunch of reasons.
For a whole bunch of reasons, and the fact that the recipe behind that is different for every platform and format. So advertisers are so unaware of the volume, if you like, of attention against how much reach they buy. So it's difficult. It's a dice roll.
Dice roll. So we're going to ask a couple more questions. We're going to leave you alone. First one is methodology. So basically, it's gaze tracking plus.
Correct. So it's important that we measure humans, firstly, because the biggest mistake we've made in measurement is that we've forgotten to measure humans and we measure
screen
metadata,
activity, device activity,
which
whatever.
makes assumptions about human behavior. So we measure humans, and how we do that at scale in a passive way is we intercept cameras on mobiles, we intercept cameras through television screens, and more recently we've done cinema and outdoors. So it's essentially filming people with permission and translating that data through machine learning models that translate to, were you looking actively, were you looking passively, or were you not looking at all?
Okay, and so one of the big questions that came from the floor, from the CMOs on the floor tonight, was around, surprise, surprise, creative.
Yes.
Does it make a difference? Now, you've got some challenging answers to that.
Oh, look, it's hard to deliver news sometimes. So the answer is creative is important, because at the end of the day, the creative is the vessel to the sale, right? So if you put some creative on screen that has no branding, what's going to happen? You're not going to get sales from it. So it is important. But what CMOs don't tend to understand is that the performance of the creative is tempered by how much attention that platform or format can achieve, right? So,
and that's fixed as a range.
It's fixed. Think of the train tracks. You can either have good creative, which sits at the top of that range, or bad creative that sits at the bottom of that range, but it's unlikely to deviate from the top of the tracks, regardless of how good your creative is. And that's scary. So, and we know that because good creative, like same ad, can do well, less well, not well, really poor, really, really poor, all the same creative across different platforms in line with attention performance.
And it doesn't matter.
It's
fixed. Like it's a principle.
It's
or a law.
It's a law, and
Okay.
we see this because we collect data in 13 countries, and it's the same, regardless of the brand.
It's hard to palate though that creative can't make too much of a difference. There are exceptions. You say there are exceptions, but exceptions are rare.
Very infrequent. And the reason why that is because the user experience defines whether you pay attention or not, and it's simple as this. So the functionality of the platform defines how much attention your creative can achieve, and the creative has to work within those boundaries.
When you say the functionality of the platform, you're talking about there a channel or a device, or is it channel?
It's all sorts of things. So, some automatic sound on, some high volume, some landscape, some portrait, some...
That's format.
Well, just formats, but also small screen, big screen, the fact that you can walk away, talking about cinema, the fact that you can't leave, and you're in the naughty corner if you start talking to people. So it's the functionality.
Or you turn your phone on.
Well, you're not supposed to do that in cinema.
That's what you're in the naughty corner. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yes.
So it's the functionality of the platform and the format that lies within that.
And creative will sit within that and can't bust it out, really.
Correct.
Karen Nelson-Field, I think there's some people looking for some more conversation around this. So we will go and have some more dinner and
We will
have that conversation.
Thanks, Paul.
Merry Christmas.